Picture this. A table tennis table, a community dojo near a train station, an old woman behind the counter who has seen 1,000 cocky kids walk through that door and walk out humbled. And right now, across that table, a teenage boy named Peco is absolutely running his mouth. He's not warming up, he's not stretching, he's talking, he's laughing. He just conned some poor 10-year veteran into a 1,000 yen a game bet, introduced himself with a nickname he clearly made up, and informed the entire room that after he personally dominates Japanese high school table tennis, he's taking it to Europe. He said this out loud to a retired lady who runs a dojo, and across the gym, watching this spectacle with the exact same expression he uses for everything, nothing, is a boy named Tsukimoto. His teammates call him Smile. He never smiles, he barely talks. He watches people the way a clock watches time, patiently, without judgment, noting everything. These two grew up together, they're best friends, and they couldn't be more opposite. But here's the thing you need to understand before we go any further. In about 20 minutes of screen time, both of them are going to face something that will quietly crack their whole world open. Peco will meet someone who makes him look like a child, and Smile will receive an invitation he doesn't know how to refuse. To understand what that means, we have to go back to the beginning. Imagine being Yutaka Hoshino, aka Peco. Imagine growing up with a gift so obvious it embarrasses the people around you. You didn't ask for it. You just showed up one day at Tamura Table Tennis, a beat-up little dojo by the train station, and the ball started going where you wanted it to go, every time. The world calls him Peco, and Peco is a lot. He's loud, he's funny, he's borderline delusional in the best way. He skips practice, hustles strangers for yen at the dojo, wears his hair like he cut it with a butter knife, and carries himself with the specific confidence of someone who has never, truly never, lost a match that mattered. He doesn't need to work hard, he's never had to. He tells everyone around him that hard work is for people without talent, and the cruel part? Up until now, he's been right. And then there's Makoto Tsukimoto, aka Smile. Glasses, deadpan expression, a vocabulary that functions mostly on a two-word economy. His coaches think something is wrong with him. His teammates think he's looking down on them. His name is ironic because he does not smile. But the people who've known him since childhood know the truth. Smile has shut himself off. Not out of arrogance, out of protection. He's extraordinarily talented, better than almost anyone his age. And he has spent years deliberately dimming that talent down, playing soft, keeping people comfortable, making sure he never makes anyone feel the way something once made him feel. And somewhere out there, a Chinese exchange student named Kong Weng just arrived at a rival school, and nobody's fully processed what that means yet. The catalyst comes in two forms, one for each boy. Peco's happens at the dojo. A new guy with 10 years of table tennis behind him shows up ready to take some kids' money. Peco sets the bet and puts on a show, not just a win, but a performance. Trick shots, self-commentary, the time of his life. He beats this guy without breaking a sweat and collects like he's picking up dry cleaning. But before he leaves, he hears something. There's a Chinese exchange student over at Sujido High, made a provincial team in China. That's basically the equivalent of going national in Japan. And Peco, who has never been curious about anyone's game, because no one's ever given him a reason to be, suddenly wants to see. Smile's inciting moment is quieter. The new coach at their school, Koizumi, tells Smile something that lands like a stone in still water. He says Smile goes easy on Hoshino, subconsciously, that this is holding him back, and he offers a deal. Train at 5 in the morning every day, and let's fix your fighting spirit. Smile refuses. He says he doesn't go easy on anyone. He says 5 in the morning is insane. But then Koizumi says something Smile can't shake. Talent is a gift that doesn't always go to the people who want it. Smile goes home and pretends he hasn't just been told something uncomfortably true about himself. Here's where things go sideways for Peco. He and Smile show up at Sujido High completely uninvited, waltz into another school's gym, because Peco literally says, why not? And immediately start touching the equipment. Peco picks up a paddle with real sticky top Chinese rubber and goes, oh wow. Kong Wenj is not there initially. So Peco kills time with a casual match, just vibing, just enjoying himself. And then Kong walks in, he's quiet, expressionless in a completely different way than Smile. Where Smile's blankness feels like a door closed gently, Kong's feels like a door that was welded shut a long time ago. He's 19. He used to be on a Chinese provincial team. Now he's here on a little island playing exhibition matches because his career in China collapsed, and this is literally the only path back. Peco wants to play immediately, and Kong agrees. What happens next is genuinely brutal to watch, not violent, just precise. Kong goes up 11 love, he doesn't smile, he doesn't react. He reads every single thing Peco tries, adjusts in real time, and neutralizes it. Peco tries to be flashy. Kong has already seen the flashy. Peco tries to be surprising. Kong accounts for the surprise. It's like watching someone bring a magic trick to a physics lecture. Peco cries, not angry tears, not frustrated tears, tears. The kind that come out when your whole self-concept gets quietly dismantled in 4 minutes. He stands up and says through genuine devastation, "Damn you, China. What's your weakness? You're too good." Which is honestly kind of beautiful in its own way. The big mouth kid has just met his ceiling for the first time, and his response is not denial, it's grief. Respect to Peco for that. But also, you should not have skipped 3 weeks of practice, my guy. Meanwhile, Kong's coach asks if Smile will play. Smile says it would just end in defeat. He doesn't play, he watches, files everything away. The same event. 2 boys. One falls apart, and one starts building something. The real climax of this anime isn't a match. It's a memory. There's a flashback, brief, quiet, easy to miss, of 2 little kids in a gym. One of them is Peco. He's small and loud and he has a ping pong ball and he's showing the other kid how to hold a paddle. He's teaching. He's being patient in the way that only kids who genuinely love something can be patient. The other kid is Smile, and he's hiding, literally inside a locker, curled up, not making a sound. He tells himself if he stays perfectly still, nobody will find him. If he doesn't breathe too loud, he'll be safe. And then Peco opens the locker and finds him and doesn't ask questions. He just says, "Let's play ping pong." That moment is the whole show. Peco didn't offer Smile a philosophy or a rescue. He offered him a ball and a table. He said, "Come exist with me in this thing that's fun. Come be somewhere the rules make sense. Come be somewhere I can see you, and it doesn't have to mean anything scary." Ping pong for Smile has always been safety, it's always been Peco. And the reason he can't compete, the reason he flinches, the reason he retreats, is that somewhere in his mind, competing means leaving that safe room. It means standing in the open. It means being seen. The choice the show is setting up isn't about whether Smile can win, it's about whether he'll choose to be visible. After that, Peco gets skunked and hasn't figured out what that means yet. Kong wins, but he's alone, in a country he didn't choose, playing matches that feel like paperwork compared to what table tennis used to mean to him. And Tamura, the old woman at the dojo, keeps the lights on. She told Peco earlier that there is rookie talk, kid. A seasoned player knows when to keep his mouth shut. She's not scolding him. She's been watching kids like Peco her whole life. She knows the arc. She lets it happen because there's no other way. You can love something completely and still be running from it. Peco is literally lying face down on the floor of the dojo, still in his street clothes, moaning about how the whole world is laughing at him. He says he wishes he'd never been born. He is genuinely inconsolable. And Tamura tells him to go home so she can do her actual job. This is the state of our hero on day 1 of his character development arc. Meanwhile, across town, Coach Koizumi has shown up to the school gym at 5 AM for the 4th morning in a row, alone, making serves at the wall, waiting for a student who hasn't come yet and probably never will. He's not mad about it. He brings his own lunch. He is committed to this bit in a way that is both sad and impressive, and that commitment is about to pay off. Coach Koizumi is not a normal coach. He is 70-something, moves like he's got nothing to prove, and has a very specific plan for Smile that he reveals piece by piece, with the patience of someone who has been playing the long game for a very long time. His strategy: he pushes Smile into a formal challenge match. If Smile wins, the coach backs off forever. If the coach wins, Smile becomes his dedicated athlete, on his schedule, on his terms. Smile agrees to this because he's genuinely confident he'll win, and for most of the match he looks exactly as comfortable as he expected to be. The coach is in his 70s. Smile has reflexes that make people uncomfortable to watch. But here's the twist: Koizumi doesn't just play technically, he plays psychologically. He reads Smile's patterns with terrifying precision and narrates them out loud in real time. "I send the ball at this angle, you return it the same way every single time." He's not trying to win with speed, he's trying to win by making Smile furious. And it works. Not because Smile gets scared, because Smile gets irritated, genuinely, visibly irritated, and that irritation breaks his shell just enough for the real player underneath to show up. Smile stops going through the motions and starts competing. The robot malfunctions, and behind the malfunction is a teenager who is actually finally playing table tennis. The coach collapses at the end, gets carried to the nurse's office, but he's smiling. Smile walks out without a word. The first years don't know whether to be horrified or impressed. The coach knew exactly what he was doing, and previously Ryuichi Kazuma, second year at Kaio Academy, last year's high school champion, 4th at World Juniors, and a human being who radiates the specific energy of someone who has never had a casual day in their life. He shows up at Katarsi's practice to scout Smile. He doesn't ask permission, he just walks in. The other players immediately start whispering about whether he's actually in high school because the man looks their 30 and has eyes like he's won wars. His conversation with Koizumi is fascinating. He says Smile is a swan among ducklings at Katase, that his talent belongs somewhere more serious. Koizumi responds by calmly asking what odds Kazuma gives Smile of beating him at the upcoming qualifiers. Kazuma says not a chance, and then he goes to find Smile directly. He wants to be number one on the whole earth. He doesn't care about feelings or sportsmanship or being liked. He just wants to win, and he says it without apology. What's remarkable is that Smile doesn't seem bothered by this at all. He nods, he understands, he even says, fair enough. Two incredibly different people who actually understand each other perfectly because they both operate on honesty. Peco, meanwhile, has decided to quit the school team. Not because he lost to Kong, or at least that's what he tells himself. He says table tennis is supposed to be fun, and if it's not fun anymore, what's the point? Smile doesn't try to talk him out of it. He just asks how long until the championship qualifiers. Peco says 2 months. Smile goes quiet. Peco says don't force yourself to play a game. And Smile says, exactly my point. Two people saying the same words and meaning completely different things. By the end something has shifted, not dramatically. But Smile is training at 5 AM. He said he wouldn't. He's there anyway. The coach is lying in the gym, nursing his destroyed muscles and grinning about it. Outside, the summer is building. The qualifier is 2 months away. The machine is warming up. The prefectural qualifying tournament is here. Every school with a serious program is present, including Kaio Academy, which is basically the table tennis version of a private military contractor. Shaved heads, matching gear, coaches who speak exclusively in war metaphors. If you lose before the 4th round at Kaio, you get kicked off the team. That's not a rumor, that's institutional policy. These people are committed. Kong Wenj is also here. He's been destroying people. His first match ends 11-1 and the second game is a complete skunk. The poor kid from Jihoku didn't score a single point. Everyone in the stands is nervous about Kong. He's not playing like someone on a comeback. He's playing like someone settling a debt with the entire country of Japan. Before the tournament begins, there's a subplot with an older player named Egami who has decided this is his last tournament and he's committed to going out with whatever dignity he can manage. He's a defensive chopper, he has a plan. He spent 3 gloomy years preparing for a match like this. Then Smile steps up across the table from him and doesn't chop. He plays offense aggressively. He scores point after point with shots his paddle wasn't designed to make. Egami looks at the scoreboard and essentially accepts that the universe is cruel. Match over. Barely any effort. In the stands, people start to realize this kid has been holding back for a very long time. And then the matchup nobody expected. Smile versus Kong. For the first game, Kong get the point, and second one, Smile get the point. It's a head-to-head match. Smile wins the second one because he spent his entire first match carefully watching Kong. Every shot, every angle, every habit. He catalogued it all while appearing to be doing nothing. When they actually play, Smile isn't reacting to Kong, he's predicting him. But here's the thing about robots, they can execute, they don't always choose. And something is off about Smile's approach that Koizumi can name exactly. Smile isn't trying to win, he's solving a puzzle. His body executes the technique, and his mind is somewhere else entirely. He's like a machine that got switched on and forgot to be human about it. Kong figures this out. He adjusts, he pushes harder, and in the third game, Smile's lead, substantial, almost comfortable, starts shrinking. Point by point, he retreats into his shell. The robot starts to glitch. Match goes to Kong. Smile loses. And Koizumi is furious, not because he lost, but because Smile let him lose. When it mattered, he checked out again. Koizumi explodes on Smile after the loss to Kong. Not about the score, about the attitude. He says, this is not a sport for dicking around or not giving a squat about winning. You want to try or quit. And Smile says quit. Koizumi says then quit. And then Tamura, old, measured, limping slightly, follows Koizumi out and tells him, you know he's not the type you can slap into submission. And she says something that Koizumi already knew but needed to hear from someone else. I hope you understand why they call him Smile, because he hardly ever does. The name isn't ironic, it's a memory. In this other case, there is a game between Peco and Sakuma aka Demon. In the beginning, Peco asks Demon when they last played, which turns out to be 4 years and 3 months ago. Initially, Peco takes the lead in the game, but as the game progresses, the Demon wins the first point. At one point in the game, Demon reveals his feelings for Peco, as he was jealous of Peco from childhood. Since Peco was always number one and getting all the glory, medals and trophies, Demon easily won the match by crushing Peco and telling him that he never reached the status of Kazama. The quarterfinal between Kong and Kazama is something else. Kong is fighting for his career with every rally. Kazama is fighting for something harder to name, something to do with his family, with his school, with the weight of being the person everyone around him needs him to be. Kong goes hard and it's not enough. Kazuma is relentless, perfect footwork. His face during the match is barely human. The concentration of someone who has trained every day of his life toward a single point of excellence and is now operating at exactly that point. Kazuma wins. Igami, the chopper who retired to the beach after Smile brushed him aside, says something that cuts through everything. The only way to not lose is to not fight. He says it to Peco, who hasn't been competing at all, and it's meant as an insult, but it lands as something else. Because Peco has been doing exactly that. He called it quitting the team. He could have called it protecting himself. And here's what the tournament makes visible that practice never could. Every player in this building is running from something. Kong is afraid of being forgotten by the country that made him. Kazuma is afraid of failing the family that needs him. Peco is afraid of finding out his talent has limits. None of them can say it. So they just hit the ball. After all this takes place, Kazama joins the Olympics and wins a gold medal. However, when he is interviewed, he mentions that Kaio Academy is not performing well and should train just like Smile at Katase High, and hence again Demon comes out. Now we see what rock bottom looks like for Peco, and it's quieter than you'd expect. He's not dramatic about it, he just stops. He shows up at the dojo, he grinds a little. On the other hand, Smile is grinding like a maniac. All of Kaio High is furious at the interview. The reason for Kazama's desperation over Smile. Sanada from Kaio Academy directly asks Kazama on his desperation over this situation. Kazama tells Sanada that Sakuma will never defeat Smile, while Sakuma misses training to go to Katase High School to fight Smile. In Katase High School, Demon meets Peco and analyzes his state. He became tan, gained some weight, and became a smoker. So, Demon immediately goes to face Smile. But Koizumi says that the player from Kaio Academy cannot go out to play without permission. He claims that losing causes them to be expelled from the academy. Koizumi replies, "Then since you did not notify anyone, are you planning to commit suicide?" Demon replies that he will think of a way to defeat Smile. Koizumi tells Smile to finish their match in 15 minutes. Demon reminds Smile that there were players who fought against him 2 years and 4 months ago. Demon insults Smile by saying, "All you are is a big fish in a small pond." The match begins and Smile does not hesitate. He goes berserk and plays flashy moves, winning by 11-1. In watching Peco, a flashback occurred in which Demon used to beat Smile in his childhood. While watching it, Peco says that Demon does not beat Smile as he is his friend, but Demon replies saying that Smile really sucked. In the next game between 11-2 Smile, Smile wins again. Then he notices the same casual expression of Smile. While playing, all he could think about was where he had gone wrong. From childhood till the present, all the flashbacks come into his mind. Seeing all of them progressing and coming to the same level as them, at the last shot Smile won the match. Frustrated, confronts Smile and tells him that he works 100 times harder than Smile and beats Peco, but still why he is superior. Smile replied that you don't have a talent for table tennis. Leave this sports and find something that you have a potential. On the other side, Peco throw his paddle in the river. It's Christmas in the middle of the competitive season. Kong's team is making wontons. His mother has travelled from China to visit, quietly slipping between the players, watching her son in a country that isn't theirs, doing the thing he was born to do. And Kong, the guy who barely speaks to anyone, who walks through every room like he's still somewhere else, helps her fold dumplings and becomes, briefly, a teenager instead of an exile. Meanwhile, Demon has taught himself to chop. He goes to the dojo on Christmas to show Peco. His chop is terrible. He knows it's terrible. He tried anyway because he didn't want to live with the regret of not having tried. He calls it being all in and fully prepared to make a fool of himself. And then he says something that will follow this show all the way to its finale. Not all birds were meant to fly. Demon tells Peco something nobody has said to him this directly before. You've got real talent. Don't give up the game. Peco says that sounds like something a loser would say. Demon says, and this is the line, yeah, I lost to the guy who got his ass handed to him by Smile, so that's my reality. He says it without self-pity. He's already done the accounting. He knows where he is on the hierarchy, and he's accepted it. And somehow that acceptance is exactly what Peco needed to see, because Peco hasn't accepted anything yet. He's been floating in the in-between space, where everything could still be okay if he just doesn't look directly at it. But then Demon tells him, you were flying before, you could touch the moon, and now you're hiding. Why? He is standing on the railings of the bridge while listening to that demon. He thinks he can fly like a bird and jumps off from there thinking that he can fly, but he ends up drowning himself. While drowning, he gets flashback of his life where he had a dream of becoming the world champion and had beautiful memories with Smile. The old lady says he is meant for playing table tennis. Peco tells her about his Olympic dream, At last, the demon rescues him and asks him to just play table tennis. At dojo, he asks the old lady to teach me how to hold a racket. Let me defeat China. I want to be the table tennis king. That's my dream. After that, his tanning begins the next day. The first assignment is that he has to climb upstairs with a heavy backpack within a minute. The old lady motivates him sexually, but instead she is ruining his enthusiasm and he succeeds to reach her within a minute. On the contrary, at Katase High, Kaio Academy visits Smile to give him an offer to join Kaio Academy. However, Smile thinks that it is an unfair action since his coach Koizumi did not know anything about that. But in reality, he was aware of that, and Kazama advisor, who was also a great fan of Koizumi or Butterfly Joe, offered similar this proposal. But Smile refused the offer because he doesn't after money or success, it's about table tennis and his coach Koizumi. Following this, Kazama experienced a flashback about his dad dying. His relatives said that he is involved in some weird business and because of this, he is suffering from some weird diseases. Kazama did not appreciate what his family members said. His mother stops him and tells him that this is their family's rule. On the other hand, Peco went to Japan Training Center where he trained with Tamura-son Michio. He met the ping pong girl statue. After this, Peco trains and on the other side, Smile run away. Koizumi contacted Tamura about this and told him about this. The parents of Smile got divorced in his childhood and his mother used to visit his home in the morning time. Tamura says that simply locate him and give him a squeeze, kiss and hug. Smile during running saw that Peco lies exhausted on the bench. Smile came back to Katase High at night and saw that Koizumi was waiting for him there. Koizumi thought that Smile ran away. But then he gave him a speech and said that coach has a job once he has an athlete. If you try anything like this again, I will whack you. The next morning was Valentine's Day, and Koizumi says sorry for ruining his day, but Samili doesn't have a plan. So Koizumi asks for a date. On this day, Yuri, a girl who loves Kazama, celebrates Valentine's Day as well as her birthday. She brings him some chocolates. However, he doesn't even bother to react since losing to him was not an option for him. It would disgrace the family name of Noir. Thus, Sanada, who is his teammate, decided to take a risk. He offered his congratulations and wished her a happy birthday. He also told her that he knows she loves Kazama, but he lets her know that he exists. In return, she offers him those chocolates. During their date, Koizumi. Smile finally asks his backstory and learns that he was once called Butterfly Joe. The whole backstory unfolds. Why Koizumi is at Katsei, why he cares so much about Smile, what the connection is between everyone we've been watching. The key piece, Koizumi was once called Butterfly Joe. Young, brilliant, the rising star of Japanese table tennis. Everyone assumed he'd represent Japan at the World Championships. Then he lost in the qualifier. His opponent, an old friend with a torn knee ligament, refused to withdraw and played through the injury. Koizumi could have targeted the injury, served deep to the damaged side repeatedly, and ended the match in 3 minutes. He chose not to. He played soft, he self-destructed, and that opponent went on to become the president of Kaio Academy. Kazama's grandfather. Let me say that again. The reason Koizumi is coaching at a nobody high school instead of developing Olympic talent is because decades ago he couldn't bring himself to destroy an injured friend, and the man who benefited from that mercy has spent the years since building an institution that treats defeat as death. History is not neutral here. Every match in this show has roots that go back further than the players know. At Japan Training Center, Peco was making progress in another dimension. Michio explained that he is learning new techniques and mastering them in a matter of time, just like a sponge. On seeing this, Tamura feels delighted, but she becomes worried about Peco's knee bandage since he hurt his knee but is playing like a maniac. Smile is fueled up since Ota got some new balls for him which he had been asking for a long time. On the contrary, Kong trains with robotic hands which know everything about Kazama. The grinding of the players after becoming berserk would ultimately lead Peco to know that the ping pong girl's statue was Tamura's old lady, and Koizumi and Kazama Ryu were their childhood friends. It is now the time for the most anticipated tournament of the players. The championship qualifiers have arrived. The draw is brutal. Peco has Kong in round 2. Smile has Kaio's number 2, Sanada, in round 3. And if everything goes according to schedule, the semi-final is Peco versus Kazama, and the final is Peco versus Smile. For the record, Peco's knee has been examined. The diagnosis is bad. He is playing on pure adrenaline and stubbornness. Tamura registers him for the tournament anyway because Peco told her exactly why he needs to play, and she understood. All the players were easily able to win their first matches. Now Kong, Peco, Smile, Sanada and Kazama move on to the second round, and the rematch between Kong and Peco is about to begin. Peco and Kong's rematch is the emotional center. The first time they played, Peco got skunked without scoring a point and cried in public. This time, Peco is on one leg running on painkillers and the memory of a 6-year-old boy who smiled in a gym. He wins. He beats Kong Weng, the former Chinese provincial player who was supposed to reclaim his career at this tournament and use the win as a ticket home. 3-0. Kong sits at the edge of the court afterward, quietly, for a long time. His coach Xiao Chu watches him and doesn't say anything. And then Kong says something in Chinese that the show doesn't translate, but his face says it. He's been playing to go back. Now there's nowhere to go back to. He cries a little. He doesn't hide it. He's 19 years old in a country where he doesn't speak the language, and his career in China is probably over. And he lost to a high school kid on one leg who was humming a song. Nobody laughs. Nobody makes a moment of it. They just let him have it. But instead of being upset, he is now determined to teach his students and motivate them to become stronger. This is his new goal. Now comes the second fight. The match between Smile and Sanada from Kaio is a clinic. Sanada comes out aggressive. He's massive. His power shots are the kind that make an entire gym go quiet. By the time the first game is nearly over, the score is 9-1 in Sanada's favor. People in the stand start whispering about whether Smile is actually as good as everyone said, whether this is finally where the robot meets its match. Then Smile figures out Sanada's weakness. It takes approximately one game of being hit around the court to locate it. Sanada cannot handle a string of attacks directed at his middle. He has to choose between forehand and backhand, and the moment of choosing costs him just enough time. Smile begins targeting that exact spot, relentlessly, with zero emotion. The next 7 points go to Smile. The game after that goes to Smile. Sanada's whole plan collapses in real time, and there's nothing he can do about it, because the weakness was always there, and nobody found it before, because nobody watched him the way Smile watches. Everyone. Sanada leaves the court furious and humiliated. He screams at Kazuma that he'd better finish what he started. Kazuma barely reacts. He's already looking at Smile differently. Before his match, Kazama disappears into a bathroom corridor for 15 minutes. His teammates know this happens before every big match. They've stopped trying to understand it. Kazama's ex-teammate Demon asks him a question that cuts right to the marrow. Who do you play table tennis for? Kazama says, for myself. Of course. Demon says, please don't joke about this, because if Kazama played for himself, then the pressure and the pain and the endless winning would be something he chose. And if he chose it, then it's fine. But Demon sees, and so do we, that Kazama plays for his grandfather, for Kaio, for Poseidon, for his aunt Emiko, who he's only allowed to contact on days of remembrance, for a family that was shamed by his father's failures and rebuilt itself on Ryuichi's wins. He plays because if he stops winning, people stop being saved. That's not table tennis, that's a sentence. He comes out calm. He always comes out calm. But we've seen what's underneath the calm now, and it changes how the match reads. When he plays, everything is perfect. The footwork, the backhand, the reading of trajectories that should be unreadable. He has built the best possible version of himself through sheer grinding, joyless discipline, and it shows in every rally. And that's the tragedy of Ryuichi Kazuma. He is excellent, and he has never once had fun. The semi-final here gives us our first real glimpse of what Peco might become, and our clearest look at what Kazama actually is. Peco goes into this match on a busted knee, not a small injury, a serious tournament-ending injury that any sensible person would have withdrawn from. And Tamura, who knows exactly how bad a knee injury can get because one ended her own career, tells him to fold. She says, if you truly want a shot at becoming a world champion, you gotta learn how to raise the white flag. Peco says no, because Smile is calling to him, and then he says the thing that recontextualizes everything we thought we understood about their friendship. I called him Smile because of how he looked whenever he played ping pong, not because he never smiles, because when he played he lit up. When Peco showed him ping pong for the first time in that gym, Smile beamed, and somewhere along the way that smile disappeared. And Peco knows why, because Peco stopped trying, and Smile stopped having a reason. He says, he's been waiting on me for a long time. The only reason he stopped smiling is because of me. This is Peco's actual inciting event, not the loss to Kong, not the injury, not the shame. It's the realization that someone he loves has been waiting for him to become the person he was always supposed to be. He picks up his paddle, he goes to face Kazama. Peco, on one leg against the high school champion with 68 wins in a row, with a twiddle penhold blade his coach threw together at the last minute, manages to take a game off Kazama. The first game is not close. Kazama goes up 9-love and then 11-love, and the crowd cannot believe that Peco is still out there. His knee is visibly wrong, his balance is off. Every step costs him. Koizumi shouts at him from the sideline. Not encouragement, technical corrections, and Peco doesn't even blink. He's somewhere else. And for second game, Kazama also won that game while Peco tried to figuring out his weakness. Game 3, Peco starts to fly. He's switching rubber on the fly, pips out for speed, inverted for spin, back and forth, and Kazama, who has read every opponent he's ever faced within the first 2 minutes, cannot get a read on what's coming next. The twiddle penhold isn't just a tactical adjustment, it's a philosophy. me. I'm not going to play your game. I'm going to play the most fun game I know how to play, and you can try to keep up. And Peco, he's humming a little song that Smile made up. In the middle of a semi-final, against the defending champion, Kazama doesn't laugh, but something in his face softens just slightly, just once, and that's the moment Tamara, watching from the side, says, I think he actually smiled. It's about time. Peco wins the 4th game. It was not an easy thing to do, but still, he won the game, and we have come to our last game. Who will win? Comment below. The match goes to a 5th game. Peco's knee is deteriorating with every rally. He's running on adrenaline and the memory of a promise he made to himself about Smile. And Kazama, who has been playing at 100% efficiency since the first rally, starts feeling something he hasn't felt in a long time. He starts feeling present, like it matters not just as a result but as an experience, like he actually wants to be here. When Peco takes match point, Kazama doesn't protest. He doesn't make an excuse. He says, this is as far as I go, hero. Will you bring me to this place again? And Peco, being Peco, just says, still love you though, dragon. Kazama tells him, people can fly, we can fly. Two people who came from completely different places arriving at the same sentence. That's the match. That's the whole anime. Everything else is just points on a scoreboard. Kazama losing is not a tragedy, it's a release. For the first time in years, he played table tennis because table tennis was happening to him, not because he was executing a strategy for someone else's benefit. He was outpaced. He was outmatched. And in the moment of being outmatched, he felt something, and that something had a name, even if he couldn't say it yet. Peco moves on to the final. His knee is destroyed. He's going to need surgery. But before any of that, there's one more match. Peco versus Smile. The hero has been called, and the machine has one last choice to make. Two boys from the same school. Two players trained at the same dojo. One who couldn't stop smiling when he played, and one who started smiling because the other one made him. The final match of the prefectural qualifiers is Hoshino versus Tsukimoto, Katase versus Katase. Both teams cheering. Nobody knowing which player to root for except Tamura, who says cheer when either of them scores a point. Peco's knee is being held together by adrenaline and the specific stubbornness of someone who made a promise and means to keep it. Before the match, Smile tells his coach exactly how he plans to play. If the opponent has a weak right knee, serve deep to the forehand and switch to the backhand. Target the injury. End it fast. Otase, I thought he's your best friend. Kozumi asks, are you sure? What if someone targeted Hero's weak point? Smile says true heroes don't have weak points. And then he goes out and plays the most honest game of his life. Before the game, we had to pass through their childhood story. Other students used to refer to Smile as Rowboat, while Peco would defend him. Peco was the type who always skipped classes and scored very badly in mathematics. Smile once asked him where he goes whenever he misses classes. He told him that he goes to play ping pong because he loves it and he is unbeatable at it. One day he invited Smile and taught him how to play ping pong, but he became nervous and refused, but he later accepted his invitation. Someday, someone locks him in the locker. He thought that he could not do anything and should behave like a robot, but Peco breaks that lock and takes Smile for playing ping pong. For the first time in the series, Smile is fully present. No withdrawal, no going easy, no invisible wall between the competitor and the sport. He serves into Peco's bad knee, forces him to overcommit, reads his returns before they happen. He's merciless. He's precise. He's playing at the level everyone always suspected he was capable of, and never saw because he never let anyone see it. And Peco, on one leg, in real pain, humming the hero song, keeps returning everything. Not because he's as technically gifted as Smile right now, because he refuses to let the rally end before he's extracted every molecule of joy from it. He switches rubber in the middle of points. He makes shots that have no business landing. He drags Smile into a game that makes no logical sense and where pure competitive logic isn't enough to win. Smile, for the first time in his life, is smiling, actually smiling. Not the polite ghost of one, the real thing. He's here, he's visible. He chose to be visible. He's competing with his whole self against the person who taught him to play. Peco wins. He always wins when it matters because winning was never really the point. Being present was. Showing up was. Refusing to disappear was. Smile accepts the loss with something that looks like peace because he came out of the locker. That's what winning looks like for him. Not a score but a choice. He stopped hiding. He played his whole game. He let someone see him. After the match, Tamura watches from the sideline and says, it doesn't really matter who wins this one. She's not wrong. Skip in future. Smile is now a middle school teacher. He's doing his student teaching. He's going to be, based on everything we've seen about how he pays attention, how carefully he watches people, how patiently he waits before responding, an extraordinary teacher. The kind who sees the kid hiding at the back before anyone else does. And he smiles. Not the ghost of one. Not the ironic one. The real one. The one that only used to appear when he played ping pong. Then Kazama shows up at Tamura's dojo. He's brought flowers, wild lilies, which Tamura thinks are the best kind. He finds Smile there, already teaching, already working. He pulls him aside and tells him him what he always suspected. Smile could have been a brilliant pro, one of the best. Smile says, "Thanks, you're the only one who still says that." Kazama says, "I know." Did he say, "If you do not know, I have been dropped from the national team," and Smile heard about it. Also Kong Weng, remember him? Appears briefly in a news segment. He went back to China. He's doing well. He found his way back. He says, "I used to hate my father so much for the life he chose, but lately I'm feeling more and more like him. I worry sometimes that I'll become an unremarkable player who only dreams about the glory days." Smile says, "Who cares if you do? Not me. I like unremarkable actually." Kazuma says, "Well, I'm not okay with it, dumbass." On the other hand, Peco reached up to Europe. Just like previous times he always chilled and came, he is now trying to become #1 in sports. He now has a large fan base and dominates where China usually dominates. Between Smile and Kazama's conversation, Smile asks, "Do you know that the demon had a kid?" Kazama replies, "This one is third. He is going to buy a truck and find his way. He is not going to come to the dojo anytime soon. He needs money to feed them, and there's a woman called Yuri waiting for you in the future." Kazama then asks Smile, "Have you got a girlfriend?" And he replies, "Wouldn't you like to know?" At the end of the conversation, Kazama thinks that he must be doing something wrong. Smile says, "Giving life to table tennis is not the bad decision." He says, "I will never go back there." At the end, this is a show about what talent does to people. Not in the inspirational way, the way talent is supposed to make things easier, clearer, more triumphant, but in the real way, the complicated way. Peco had so much talent that he never had to try, and when trying became necessary, he almost didn't know how. Smile had so much talent that it terrified him, and he spent years making himself invisible so nobody would ask him to use it. Kong had talent and worked for it both, and still got swallowed by a system that needed him to win exactly the right matches at exactly the right time. Kazama had talent and discipline and everything the sport asks for, and spent his best years as someone else's instrument. None of them were saved by table tennis. All of them were saved by someone who loved them while they were playing it. Peco saved Smile by opening a locker. Koizumi saved Smile by showing him the view from the mountain. Peco saved Kazama by making him feel something. And Tamura saved everyone by keeping the lights on. And the ball goes back and forth, like it always has, like it always will. The hero always appears, just not always the way you expected. So if you like the video, hit that subscribe button and I will see you sometime.